Good evening and welcome to the Sons of Dynasty 2022 Rookie Review Show. I am your host, Beezy, at the Beezy BFF on Twitter. How we all doing tonight? We're excited to have you guys. So what we're going to do is we are going to go through some of our favorite picks in the first round, second round, maybe a couple sleepers. We're just going to hit you guys with some knowledge, have some fun, maybe a little debates. But first off, we need to kind of go through and just introduce this crew of sectionists on the screen because it is getting hot. I'm sweating, and it's not because it's hot outside. In the corner is my man, the myth, the legend, the brother from another mother, and the guy that helped me. We kind of got this all going together years back. But Dan Brown at Dan Brown NFL on Twitter, co-host of the SODFS podcast. What's up, my homie?
What is up, guys? It is good to get us all in here. Really feel like we got the whole team together for this one, so I'm excited. Done lots of podcasts with some of you guys. This is a first for me to have our newest member, Rusty, here on air with us tonight. Man, I'm excited to talk about some of these rookies and really get the hype train rolling as we are heading into really kind of overreaction season. As some of these practice videos are starting to leak out into Twitter, the momentum's going to carry, and we're here to do our parts, if you will, to make sure that it is just really fluctuating based off of our thoughts and opinions here tonight.
100%, man. And our thoughts and our opinions are we got some crazy stuff going on. We've always had some debates in the chat, so this should be an interesting show. Next up on the other side is my man Nate FFL, another guy on the SODFS podcast. Him and Dan just doing some work during the DFS season. Also the big NASCAR and betting guy over there with Garage Guys. What's up, my brother?
What is up, man? It's really good to be here. It's been almost 6 months since Dan and I have been on screen together, but this is even better because it's the first time that the whole family is together. So I'm stoked for the show. Happy to be here. Couldn't think of a better way to spend my Sunday night.
Yeah, man, we're excited. This is exciting to get us all on the one table because, like I said, we talk all the time, but we haven't done a pod all together. So this is going to be fun. Hopefully, we got many more to come. Next up is going to be my man, Coach Craig at Coach Craig Sports, writer over the True North and WeBet_ATS. What's up, brother?
Yes, like you said, I do a lot of different work. Doing pretty good tonight. Some people are probably going to have some different opinions than me on some of these guys that we'll be talking later on. So it's going to be a fun little podcast.
I already know where this is going.
It's going to be good.
And I know Dan showed his ownership shares. He's got some of my anti-Coach Craig guys in quite a few leagues there.
All right. We'll keep it interesting. And last but not least, well, one of the last but not least, but our new guy, Rusty, Devin B44, my guy, the hot sauce maker, just got married recently. A lot going on for you, brother. We're excited for you. We're happy for you. Congratulations, first off. Welcome to the pod.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. Like, you guys are saying, so nice to get everybody together and like this. And yeah, it's been a busy guy, but I'm ready to rock and roll here with you guys. So
now we'll get some stuff rocking here in a minute. Next up, we just got to give a shout out to our producer at Dynasty, dude. He has done this beautiful layout for us. Always hipping up with the music. The guy just does some amazing work. So we're super lucky to have him on board. But before we kick into this little rookie mock that we're going to review, my man Nate's going to kick it off with something.
So we just had a quick announcement before we dive into the show. Sons of Dynasty has officially partnered with the Fantasy Points Media Group. It's something that has been in the works since last year. We waited, took our time with building it, and we are extremely excited about this partnership. We have a lot of great friends at Fantasy Points, from True North. We got Nick over at Play to Win Fantasy. They have a great squad over there. We're extremely excited to be a part of it, to produce some great content in 2022, not just Dynasty, but DFS as well. And we do have a promo code. It's SUNS22 for 10% off of a premium Fantasy Points subscription. So go over there and be sure to check that out. But with the business out of the way, I'm ready to jump into the show. So I'm going to throw it to Dan. He's got our first player in the first round.
Yeah, appreciate that, Nate, and I echo everything you said about the Fantasy Points Media Group. Super excited to be a part of that moving forward into this year's and just to be a part of the growth But let's talk a little bit about some of these rookies. We mentioned we're going to talk some first round guys, some second round guys, and even some late round guys. But we're going to start with, some of these early first round guys, maybe late first round, but guys that you can expect to find somewhere in the first round. And the guy that I'm going to be talking about is, you're going to have to find him at the very beginning, and that's my guy Drake London, an Atlanta Falcon as of now. And I can only say so much about this guy that's already been said. Obviously, the Falcons gave him the capital, and it allows my Falcons, our Falcons, a little bit of flexibility too, as far as the Calvin Ridley situation. He obviously, as of now, will miss this upcoming season. So I think Drake London is going to see pretty much one of the better opportunity shares based on all these incoming rookies that he can get. I mean, Kyle Pitts, yes, while he's there and is going to be a mainstay, I think that there's plenty enough volume to go around with these two guys mostly being the main two beneficiaries of the volume pie. Drake London is high on my list. Just everything he can do as far as his speed outs and the agility that he shows for his size. I think he is a good fit for the Atlanta offense. Works well off of play action. I just think he is a good fit here in Atlanta. And while the quarterback situation doesn't look great right now, it doesn't have to. I'm still buying London here in redraft, even just because of the volume that I mentioned. But from a dynasty perspective, he's going to get every opportunity to make a splash here this year, and his value is going to hold true. Even with the quarterback out that he has given this year. So you're going to get that production, that year one production, and even if things go south, he's already got a scapegoat on the season. You're not going to see a value decrease for this guy at all. It is only going to go up if and when the Falcons do indeed find their future at the quarterback position. I mean, and it's sky high for Drake London and Kyle Pitts right now. Right now, you can still get, Kyle Pitts, obviously, tier one, but I think where Drake London is going from a startup perspective today is still a value based on what you're going to get from him 1 year from now.
Yeah, Dan, I love what you said there. He's good with the play action because the Falcons are building this offense basically to be a kind of a run-centric unit with Mariota and even with Desmond Ritter as, the backup quarterback is what we're thinking now anyway. But I think there's going to be a ton of play action in this offense. So I think Drake London is a perfect fit here. The guy I'm going to talk about is actually on, my hometown team too. It's Jamison Williams with the Detroit Lions. They traded up in the first round to take him at number 12. Jameson Williams is a guy that a lot of people are obviously a little bit timid with because of the ACL injury in the national championship, which I completely get and understand. But I think what the Lions do here is they add a lot of speed to this offense. He's obviously extremely fast, and speed is something that this offense needs. When you think of Jared Goff, you don't think of the deep ball, but it's going to open up the field for guys like Hawkinson, DeAndre Swift, Amon-Ra St. Brown. And the Lions are really starting to build more of a concrete foundation versus a sand foundation with just star players attached, at the top. And year after year, we've seen it crumble, but Dan Campbell and those guys are really starting to do a lot of good things. And I think it's going to turn around. As far as redraft goes, I think Williams might need a little bit of time. I'm not saying he won't be productive first year, but I think it may take him some time to get rolling, especially coming off an injury. We seen Amon-Ra come on late at the end of last year. For Dynasty, I like him a lot. I'm seeing him go at the end of the first round in most of my drafts. I've only done 3 or 4 so far, but I like where he's going. I like the potential. I like the upside. I like the speed. And what I love the most is this guy loves football. I watched his media session after the rookie camp, and he wouldn't put the ball down, and he was getting made fun of, but he just loves the game. He loves football, and he's all about it. So I'm stoked for the Lions, and I'm taking Williams if I can get him at the end of the first round. I'm all about it. Craig, you're on the clock. Who do you got, bud?
Yeah, so the guy that I'm talking about in the first round is Skyy Moore, wide receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs. He's a very, very interesting prospect because he was actually recruited to Western Michigan as a 3-star cornerback. Converts to wide receiver. First year there, he has 51 receptions, 802 yards, and 3 touchdowns. That's pretty good for any freshman. And then you take into the fact that he was a corner who only had scholarships from 4 schools, and Western Michigan was the best one. The other ones were Howard, Robert Morris, and I can't remember the fourth one right now. I think, Rice, that's who it was. So you take that into fact. 2020 season is COVID short and can't really take too much in that. Plays 12 games in 2021, 95 receptions, 1,292 yards, 10 touchdowns. Everybody was kind of surprised when he declared, because you don't see these MAC school guys declare early. And then everybody started digging in the film, and he just kept rising up draft boards. Goes into a wide open wide receiver room in Kansas City. They got Juju Smith-Schuster there. He's just on a 1-year deal. And aging Travis Kelce, I know Travis Kelce is still very good, but when we're talking from a Dynasty's perspective, this is a guy that could be the number one option long-term for Patrick Mahomes, who we obviously think of as one of the best quarterbacks in fantasy football. They signed Marquez Valdes-Scantling as well. It's a fake 3-year, $30 million deal. He can be cut next offseason and save $7 million. Only have $4 million in dead cap. That's nothing. McCole Hartman hasn't done anything on the last year of his rookie contract. Yeah, they brought in Justin Ross. This isn't 2018 anymore. He hasn't done anything since 2018, and he has the injury histories. He couldn't separate last year at college. Ran one of those, he had for the 10-yard split, it was one of the worst percentiles of any wide receiver ever coming out. Yes, Josh Gordon's there too. Go back to Justin Ross. This isn't 2018 anymore. He's still only 21 years old. This is a guy that's good and going to be able to play right away in this offense. Going to be a little bit of a versatile weapon. Is he going to be Tyreek Hill? No. But he's going to be a very good wide receiver, especially in a PPR setting, tied to Patrick Mahomes long-term. None of these other guys around him are probably going to be there long-term either. And unless they make a major investment, which the Chiefs are probably going to be picking late in the first round, so it's not like they're bringing in another stud to replace him. It's going to be a very good pick overall for Skyy Moore, and possibly a very good career. And he's a guy that's already a good route runner. He's got clean releases, and he had the biggest hands at the combine out of any wide receiver. And his 10-yard split for the 40-yard dash is in the 99th percentile. So can't really say too much there. Reception per reception for Matt Harmon. He grayed out in the tops of the class versus zone coverage, and I believe he's second versus press coverage. Yes, he played against lesser corners, so there is the competition there, but he is a guy that has been able to win on the inside and on the outside.
I love it, man. Skyy Moore is such a great pick and perfect landing opportunity. Playing with Mahomes, man, he's an absolute smash if you can get him in drafts this year. My man, Rusty.
Super excited
for us.
I got Treylon Burks, which I actually have a lot of shares of so far, so I'm pretty happy about that. But I've actually seen him go as the first receiver off the board to, I think someone drafted him at the 1.9, so towards the back of the first round of the draft. One thing that I noticed was that Tennessee was obviously the big news. A.J. Brown not there anymore, so he gets to go play in Philly, and they were comfy with sending him away and then drafting Burks, big athletic guy. I think one thing that a lot of people might be forgetting about is Robert Woods is still there coming off the ACL injury, but I still think that Burks is just he's gonna be in there right away. This Kyle Phillips guy is kind of a sneaky guy too. I don't think that was anybody's sleeper, but maybe it was. Was it? Okay.
No.
I won't talk about him too much. But he's been looking pretty good too. And but I think Burks is gonna be locked and loaded early in that offense. And Derrick Henry's still there obviously too, but they're gonna find a way to get the ball around and get him the ball. So I'm really excited about him, and I think that he's going to be doing really well this first year.
Yeah, I like what you mentioned there. You said you mentioned that he was going, early in the first round and at the end. I've seen the exact same thing, man. So people are kind of all over the board with him. So there's value to be had there for sure. And it's kind of wild how they replaced AJ Brown with him. I get it in a way. In a way, it's still kind of crazy to me, but it's definitely a good pick.
Well, and with these rookie drafts, these wide receivers, that we've all chosen here, it really just comes down to league preference. They're all shuffled in. There hasn't really been much consistency as far as even the wide receiver one. I mostly, yes, I am seeing Drake London, and if I had to pick, he is the wide receiver that I see picked first more often than most. But outside of that, I mean, it is shuffled. We were talking just before we went live. I had Chris Olave fall into my lap there at the 111 in a Superflex draft, and I was ecstatic about it. I typically have him right around the 107 to 108 area. So to get him a few picks later, I was excited about. But that just goes to show you, it's really draft dependent is where these wide receivers are going to land. You're going to get Breece Hall up there. You're going to get a couple of wide receivers, and then immediately, it's the other running back Walker there coming off the board, followed by the next few wide receivers in whichever order they go. But it's been fun, man, getting a bunch of exposure to a bunch of different guys based off that. A lot of times, if you find yourself constantly picking at the 107, 108, you find yourself constantly making the same pick. That's not the case this year. There's good shakeup in each and every draft, and it's been fun thus far.
And I will just say with Burks too, it is important to note that he did produce pretty much for 3 years at the SEC level. There is some, I will say, obviously, since people blew it up the other day that he left practice early. He's had asthma in his career. This is a guy, though, that there are some weight concerns with him, whether or not he stays in shape long term. He kind of fluctuated weight at Arkansas. There's rumors that he wasn't in the best shape going into the combine, try to compensate for it like last minute. And maybe that's why he didn't test as well as people would have thought. So just know, like when you're in a dynasty league thinking long term, this is a guy that could potentially balloon up, kind of like a Kelvin Benjamin did a couple of years ago after he had the one good year with Carolina. So there is some concern there, but hopefully he goes into Tennessee. They get him in with a dietitian and he gets all that stuff straightened out.
Yeah, man. He, like I said, he's definitely by far like one of the guys in these drafts that's just all over the place. But we're all taking shots on our guys anyways. So I'm going to finish this up with Garrett Wilson. The Jets took him number 10 overall. They made the statement. They said, we want to get another wide receiver in here. We want to get a stud. Boom.
You just call him wide receiver 2 up there.
No, he's my 2. He's okay. My 2 behind.
Oh,
London.
I'm like, what do you? Okay, there we go. He's your 2. Okay.
Yeah, no, I feel like Amon-Ra St. Brown is scaring a bunch of people off of him.
I agree.
And I don't think that needs to be the case.
Elijah Moore, yes.
Or yes. Sorry.
I
think both of them can coexist.
I agree with you. I mean, the biggest thing is going to be can Zach Wilson take that next step. I mean, he looked like shit last year. I'm not going to lie. It was an awful. He just couldn't get the offense running. He seemed a little bit better at the end of the year, but at the same time, they're surrounding him with the weapons. It's up to him to do it. Do what he does with it. Garrett Wilson is a perfect wide receiver for him. I do like Wilson better than I like Elijah Moore. I think Wilson can come out and take that wide receiver 1 role right from the get-go. He is just such a great route runner, great hands, great separator. He does everything on the field that you need. He can go all 3 levels. He works in that, intermediate area. So that's where he's going to have a lot of success because Zach Wilson, we don't know if he's going to actually be hauling it down the field much. So it might be a dink and dunk. Let these guys get the yak and all that kind of stuff. So I love Wilson. Super excited for him. All right. Let us move to round.
Those guys fit together so well, though. I mean,
they really do.
They're not gonna butt heads as far as work goes. And I mean, you could still see both of these guys in the year with 20+% target share at year's end. And I'm buying into both of these guys. I think the community feels a little hesitant, and that's with Elijah as well with Wilson coming in. But I think both guys are a value. I am a believer in the Zach Wilson next year step up, and I'm willing to buy on Wilson. I said he is my current wide receiver 2 in this class.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I've said it a few times. I've seen a few drafts. Wilson is definitely dropping in dynasty drafts. Like you're getting great value on him later in drafts. So absolute smash. And like I said, I hope he does take that next step because I'd love to see him be successful. It's just that you get that year 1 jitters after watching some of that tape, and you're just like, woof.
But at the same time, every rookie quarterback had that last year besides
100%.
So it's not uncommon to see. It's just we as like a community have become so accustomed to seeing like these rookies come out and play really well right away. We got to understand that that's not the norm and not jump ship as soon as something bad happens.
Yep. 100%.
Couldn't agree more. Yep.
All right, boys. So it is time to move to round 2. So, D, who's your guy? Let's talk.
I am coming on a guy who hasn't been as popular. I think it was a little bit of a surprise to most people with the draft capital that he got, and that's Jahan Dotson that we are talking about there for the what is it? The Commanders? Is that what I'm supposed to be calling them at this point?
Yeah.
The Washington Commanders. That they felt the need to make the pick, and from what I've heard thus far in camp. Ron Rivera said as advertised, so apparently he's looking good, making routes run, look good. And, that's what we kind of want to hear, I guess, at this time of year. A little bit of news, a little bit of hype, but I think the landing spot doesn't really feel great for most. But if you look a little bit closer, from a dynasty perspective, especially, there is ambiguity there at the wide receiver position there for the Commanders. Terry McLaurin is in the midst of a contract dispute as we speak. Curtis Samuel, last year's free agent kind of splash, if you will, has really struggled to stay healthy. And the 2021 third rounder in Diami Brown has really kind of failed to make an impact his rookie season. I don't know that he's necessarily going to make a step up. So Jahan Dotson could be a guy that really does end up becoming a more of a feature player. He took on a huge role in college, and he's just really got great body control and hand-eye coordination. He's extremely fun to watch if you do end up watching some film on him or get a chance to see him in the preseason. A really fun wide receiver to watch just as he kind of manipulates with his body and gets these DBs looking foolish regularly. It's a guy that I'm excited about. And while I don't love the quarterback direction that this team currently has, I don't think that this team is going to make a ton of noise, and I think they are more than likely going to be continue to be in that quarterback market until they get something right. Wentz is just a bridge quarterback. The same thing that Wentz was this past year in Indy is the exact same thing that he is this year. They're just kind of letting him ride this out and looking for the next big deal. And I think Jahan Dotson is going to really be the only real feature guy there that they're going to have there 1 year from now, especially if things don't work out with Terry McLaurin. I'm a big Terry fan, but if things don't work out with Terry and he's gone, I mean, Dotson could be walking into that real wide receiver one role quickly post this season.
I think you nailed it when you said the direction the team is going with quarterback. That's my biggest hesitation. It's not a knock on Dotson's abilities, but I look at the Commanders and I see a lot of the Detroit Lions. They're building a foundation, from the ground up. Good, solid, defense that's on the up and up. But the quarterback's just not a quarterback that you're likely going to win a lot of games with. So for Dynasty, I definitely like it a lot. But for redraft, I'm for sure more hesitant. But yeah. The guy I'm going to talk about is Desmond Ritter. This isn't necessarily a guy I'm all over, but I thought it was a guy worth talking about since so many of us are now in 2 QB or super flex leagues and such. He was drafted by the Falcons, who did sign Marcus Mariota in the offseason. Mariota has battled injuries throughout his career, so there's a chance that Ritter could end up seeing the field this year. He was a 4-year starter at Cincinnati, and for the most part, he was a 4-year winner, played in 50 games, completed 62% of his passes. He's the kind of quarterback I like for fantasy football because he's mobile. He can get around. He can throw on the run and things like that. He's also got a pretty big arm, but, I do worry about his accuracy quite a bit. I've seen him miss a lot of easy throws in the film that I watched. Ritter, I only have one share so far. I am only through 3 or 4 drafts, but I think there's potential there for Ritter to see the field this year. And I was just kind of curious, what you guys thought about Desmond Ritter and him landing in Atlanta.
Go ahead.
I mean, you want me to chime in here?
Shit, go ahead and chime in. Yeah, I can see you. I can see you just getting close to the screen. So go ahead, man.
I'll be honest. I don't mind the pick by Atlanta here. My big thing was I didn't want to go QB at 8. You know, and as long as the Falcons avoided going QB at 8, I was going to call this a successful draft for the Atlanta Falcons. And so while they did end up putting a little bit of capital at the quarterback position, I think it was necessary at this point. And just maybe, you know, they don't have to invest big this offseason, you know, or whatever. He's got an opportunity here, just as big of an opportunity as Mariota's had, you know. But Mariota, while we've seen glimpses in the past that look promising, he's failed to do it on a consistent basis. And I think ultimately that's what's kept Mariota, you know, kind of up under wraps for the most part. But you know, the excitement of Desmond Ritter and the unknown of how he will perform at the next level, it's exciting, you know, and having that even as a slick backup plan for Mariota is exciting, and allowing him to maybe get a few meaningful reps this year. Again, we mentioned the Falcons and having that out for the quarterback position, this being, you know, shipping Matt Ryan off, and he's going to go do great things for the Colts. So, you know, I love Matt Ryan, love what he did for the city of Atlanta, but you know, this is a turnover year, and that's just a growth year for a lot of these young guys. The Falcons are essentially breaking it down. I mean, you think about there's not many guys there from even a few years back in the Dan era, you know. So you know, it's exciting though, and whether or not Ritter is the answer for the Falcons at quarterback, I don't know. I don't think so, but he's an exciting little project that the Falcons regime has under their belt at this time.
Right, and the one thing I do also want to mention is they didn't invest a ton of draft capital in him, so he is still replaceable. They used him as he's the 74th overall pick. I feel like essentially what they did. I feel like essentially what they kind of did was, if Mariota does get hurt, they have a quarterback that is a very similar play style that can run the same offense.
You know, I'm a fan of Ritter, the player. I thought he was like the most NFL ready quarterback in the draft, honestly, just from what I've seen. But you're right though. There's two things. If Ritter wants to win this job, he needs to win it early, and then he needs to get Atlanta to be winning some games. He's got to bring them out of that early top, 10 pick where they could potentially get a future quarterback there. That's the only way that he's going to be successful. That's the only way he's going to find the success. If they've got a top 3 pick next year, it's pretty much lights out for him. So you're taking a gamble. I mean, like I said, the Davis Mills effect from last year, we've seen the third round, a guy that you were getting in the third round of rookie drafts who is now starting this year, what it looks like potentially, unless something crazy happens with Baker. You could kind of see the same thing with Desmond Ritter. So you're getting him in the second round. I think it's a good spot for him. I think it's worth the gamble, in my opinion, as long as it's not too early. But he is on a really short leash. Devin, my guy. You're up next.
I think.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it is you. Sorry. We could go ahead and you got a good pick too.
I do have some quick thoughts on Ritter though too. I think just depending on the nature of your dynasty team, if you're trying to take them in dynasty, you're probably going to end up with some decision point whether you take Malik Willis or Desmond Ritter. If you're a team that's not contending now, you're probably better off sitting on Malik Willis because you can put him on your taxi squad and wait. But if I'm a team that's in the middle or think I'm going to contend, there's no way I'm touching Malik Willis. I'm going to draft Desmond Ritter. If I'm not already trading this pick, I'm trying to trade this pick for like a 2023 second round pick if I can. Most people are probably not going to give you that. You take Desmond Ritter here. I don't think Mariota starts more than like 8 games next year, to be honest, because the Falcons are not going to be good. Sorry, Matt and Dan, close your ears if you don't want to hear that, but it's not a big secret. They're one of the top 3 teams to have the top over, in terms of chance to have the top overall pick in next year's draft. So I think what you have here is a guy that gets an opportunity to show himself. He's a mobile quarterback. Not that he ran a lot at Cincinnati, but if you can get somebody excited about that, you can recruit the second round pick in next year's draft where there is a little bit more talent. That's what I'd be trying to do with Desmond Ritter personally. I don't think he's much long-term. My comp before he came out and ran well at the combine was actually Blaine Gabbert, a guy that started a lot of games in college. He was drafted, he's getting a lot of hype going into the draft, ended up going first round. Desmond Ritter, where you thought was going to end up being the same way, but he's just kind of like a faster Blaine Gabbert in a way to me. The important thing to know about him is kind of his mechanics and the inaccuracies is what caused people to deter. When I watched his junior year, I was not very impressed, but he's been working with Jordan Palmer for 2 years now, and you actually seen his mechanics get better and better over time, but the deep ball accuracy is still not there yet.
Yeah.
So let's see.
Jump into your boy here, some guy that we've all been a little excited about. I've been excited about him.
Yeah, I know. And I know you got more of the deep dive stats. I didn't go deep into that, but Tyler Allgeier, wide receiver out of BYU. So he was a redshirt junior there. He was a former 2-star prospect. He actually put on some weight at BYU too. A lot of people don't actually realize that. He redshirted the freshman year. He mainly played linebacker. His redshirt freshman year, I guess you can call it. He had 17 carries that year as well and a couple of receptions, 26 tackles as a linebacker. And then 2020, when Zach Wilson kind of had his breakout, Tyler Allgeier also had his breakout. So for me personally, when I was watching Zach Wilson film, when he started getting some hype and I started watching him, I'm like, who's this running back? Because he's actually really good. And you just watch him there, and then I look up his stats, and he's got over 1,000 rushing yards. So he had 150 carries for 1,130 yards, 13 touchdowns. He had 14 receptions and 174 yards, which didn't sound like a lot, but Zach Wilson was also a mobile quarterback, so he took off and ran a lot of the times when he was able to do so. So he wasn't dumping the ball down. But Tyler Allgeier, what you get here is a good back in terms of pass blocking, receiving the ball out of the backfield. He's a big physical runner, obviously, since he did play a little bit of linebacker as well. He's 5'11", 221 pounds. I was at the NFL Combine personally. This dude's shoulders are as big as your head. Like, it's not even like, it's just scary kind of. Then this year he had 276 carries, 1,601 rushing yards, 23 touchdowns, which I get BYU is not the greatest school in the world. They don't face the greatest competitions, but 23 touchdowns is still 23 touchdowns. Doesn't really matter what level you're at. He had 28 receptions, 199 yards. He goes into Atlanta. They have a wide open running back room at this point in time. They already cut Mike Davis. Cordell Patterson, he was really good last year, but it sounds like they're going to try to use him more at wide receiver. And then obviously he's older too. It was his 9th year by the time he broke out at the NFL level. So they're probably not going to want to get a lot of wear and tear on him too. They still want him to be a good kick returner and all that. Damian Williams is really the other back there. He's 30 years old. And to be quite frank, he looked like crap for the Bears last year. And then there's Quadra Ellison, who literally hasn't done anything in like 3 years at the NFL level. So Tyler Allgeier is a guy that could potentially come in and, get into a workhorse load at the NFL level right away. And especially if, they just traded for Brian Edwards and they signed Auden Tate and they signed some of these other guys to play wide receiver. If they don't impress and they want to put Cordell Patterson out at wide receiver and Allgeier shows off like in rookie mini camp and training camp and the preseason, that gives them an opportunity to do that as well. So a guy that you're probably getting towards the end of the second round could return some value. And even if he just gets you some couple of games this year where he has some production, you trade him off for a better pick next year, that could be some value. And he's one of these guys that came in from this year's class that I think he could have the job beyond this year. I can't say that about some of these other guys. I think the running back class coming in next year is very, very talented, and they're going to steal a lot of jobs or at least take over parts of the backfields, because we see more NFL teams with 17-game schedule going to a committee approach, whether it's 2 running backs or 3 running backs.
Yep. I love it, man. I was a big Allgeier fan coming up, and I had put out a couple tweets earlier about him and love his play style, love his physicality, man. He's just a bowling ball. Excited to see what he does in Atlanta, man. It's, it's not often that, you see a 3rd round pick come in and have the opportunity he could possibly see, but it's exciting.
Oh, I will say too, real quick, just one thing that I didn't mention. He had a 10% college target share, 77th percentile. That's kind of like, when you're looking at over that 8%, that's kind of that factor that you look at for translating over to the pro game. So he does have that ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. And I think he's actually very underrated and wasn't used as much as he could have been at BYU in that regard.
Yep. Facts. All right, Rusty, you're up, brother.
All right. I think you guys know how excited I am for this one. I got David. Yeah, I talk about him all the time. David Bell, my guy. I think I got him in just about every league that I've drafted in so far. And actually, it's kind of funny. So, like when we had the wedding, it was over the NFL draft, so I missed, some of those later rounds and whatnot. But I was getting, picks filled in for me, and my buddy had told me that he went to the Browns, and at first I was like, shit. But then I thought about it, and we'll see what happens with this whole Watson thing, but I mean, that's huge at quarterback, having to throw any of the ball. Stefanski sounds like he really wanted him, really wanted to go get him in the 3rd round there. So, use him right. Landry's gone, so maybe he plugs into that role a little bit. I've seen some comps, Keenan Allen, Devontae Adams for this guy, which take that how you will, but that's pretty exciting stuff for me. One thing that I did see that a stat that I thought was pretty interesting was he's had 41 contested catches since 2018, and that's first among Power 5 wide receivers. So I think this guy is just going to be he's catching balls for sure, but I think he could be a really good playmaker there for the Browns. But like I said, that whole Watson thing, I don't know how that's going to shake out. I don't think anybody does right now, but that could be pretty huge if he gets him throwing him the ball. So
let me ask you, Rusty, what's the earliest that you've spent on David Bell in a rookie draft?
I've 2.2.
2.2. Yeah, that's not bad. I mean, I feel like that's right there. If you're in need of a wide receiver, that's right there at value. 2.2 all day for me with David Bell. If my team needs a wide receiver, and of course, Dotson, and maybe even the next guy that Beezy's about to talk about right now, I'd have to think about potentially. Unfortunately, the thing with Pickens, Beezy, and I'll let you have your bread here in just a minute, is I have so many Deontay shares that, it's just like Claypool. I don't have any shares of Claypool because of my Deontay shares, except for that one trade, Beezy, that you and I are working on right now.
Well, dude,
it does involve Deontay and Claypool.
Dude, half of our Deontay and Claypool teams are because we've gone back and forth with each other on this one. I'm a massive Deontay fan. Don't get it twisted by any means, man. I love Deontay, but I also love, making some trades and getting some value in with some other stuff. So, Pickens, when Pittsburgh comes out and they draft a wide receiver in the second round, you need to take notice. Big facts. This kid is a bulldog. He's mean. He's vicious. I love his personality. And him coming off the ACL. I mean, he's on 9 months now. Ran a 4.47 at the combine. Recently he was speaking without. He said he feels really good. There, he got him out there running all over the place. Catching passes, doing his thing. I'm super. Again, this has the makings of something's going to happen in Pittsburgh in the next year. It's either going to be Deontay's getting a contract or Claypool's going out. Pittsburgh is not known for going up and actually paying their wide receivers. So Deontay could be on the move. Claypool, we'll see what happens with him. I like him going this year. Hopefully they move him into the slot and take advantage of his size and his speed in that area and put Pickens on the outside and see what he can do. But Pickens is a guy that I like, especially if you can get him in the second, like at the early second. I think he's a great piece that you could stick on your taxi for a year, see how he develops. Let him get his feet underneath him with that ACL. But again, too, it's like I've always said, man, if Pittsburgh's taking a wide receiver in the second round, I am listening because I'm also a Steeler fan, so and that's part of it. But I'm definitely listening because that's one spot where they have just been hitting consistently for years.
Well, I'll say too with Pickens though. I think what Pittsburgh could do, they could rotate all three of these guys through the slot because Deontay could play the slot. He didn't really do it last year. Claypool's played a little bit of big slot in the past and in college. And Pickens, I know it was sub 20%. I believe it was not this past year, but the year before that. He actually looked decent when he played in the slot. There is some concerns there. Obviously, the ACL, some character concerns as well. And the fact that like 80% of his production came from go routes and slant routes. So he's not developed yet, but this is the boom bust prospect. If you're taking at the end of round one with everybody else around there, if you're hoping for upside, like if you're not trying to draft a Chris Olave or Jahan Dotson, the kind of safe player, or James Cook or somebody like that, you're shooting for upside. You're picking George Pickens or you're picking Christian Watson. That's just kind of what it is this year.
For every reason that you were drafting Chase Claypool, you are drafting George Pickens.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it is both the Steelers, but just getting that, I mean, Claypool still to this point, just the sheer size and speed and what Claypool can do. We saw glimpses of it that ceiling is there. And that's also what you do get with George Pickens. And as Coach alluded to, the floor might be a little bit lower than an Olave or a Dotson. But if you're looking for a guy that can really bring you that true ceiling, George Pickens there at the beginning of the second round is your guy all day. I love that pick.
I'll also say don't sleep on Calvin Austin. This dude, if Deontay moves on, that dude's going to be very, very important, and he's a baller. I don't care how big he is. That dude is a baller.
Yep, he's a great taxi ad because he's going so late in drafts, and Pickens is the prime piece right now. People are not even looking at Austin. I've
been taking him everywhere.
Yep.
Well, and that's similar to the next guy that we're going to talk about, and our guy Kyle Phillips. As we get here into the third and fourth rounds of these, these rookie drafts, the Tennessee Titans, made the big splash trading AJ Brown, my kinfolk there, to Philadelphia, but they added second round wide receiver, as well as Treylon Burks there in the first, though. They added Kyle Phillips with the number 163 overall, I believe it was. So adding a little bit more wide receiver depth. The moment that the Titans traded away A.J. Brown, the opportunity there in Nashville is exponential. And so obviously everybody's floating to Burks, and rightfully so. He's going to have 100+ targets guaranteed this season, and potentially be able to step into, as we mentioned, what AJ Brown was able to do. Now, AJ Brown is, let's not mistake for a second that think that Burks is going to step in and be AJ Brown. Not many people can do that. And while I am a big Burks supporter, and as we mentioned, he does bode the skill set that you're looking for as far as what AJ Brown was able to do. But he is not AJ Brown, and therefore the opportunity is there. And Burks, yes, while many of them are expecting him to step in and really take all that opportunity, the opportunity is there for others as well. And Kyle Phillips, while selected much later and far less draft capital, that goes for the same for where he's going in rookie drafts. Burks is going top 5. Kyle Phillips is going late third, early fourth round. And potentially both of these guys have the same opportunity to really come in here and grab a piece of pie that's available. And Phillips has obviously the reports are already starting to come out. I feel bad because I had Phillips here as my guy, and it's actually a guy that JP&G and I talked about when I had him on a couple of weeks back. I asked him, I said, who's one guy that you think post-NFL draft that people are going to be hearing a little bit more about versus right now here before we see the Capitol? Kyle Phillips is a guy that not many people were talking about. Still a guy that not many people are talking about, if we're being honest, but he's got a huge opportunity here, and I love the cost given where you can get him right now. I absolutely love the cost. The Titans haven't really been able to find, that true slot guy that they need over the years. They've had some, Taekwon Taylor, Khalif Raymond, Adam Humphries, Chester Rogers. They've tried a bunch of pieces out, but without a real wide receiver alpha there at this point. Yes, Burks is there. As I mentioned, just the opportunity that he's got there is more than enough for me to want to take a stab here in late third, early fourth round every damn time. I got a bunch of shares. I'm going to continue stacking them between now and then.
And he has a clear path of playing on game days too, because he's a very underrated punt returner. And when you look past Treylon Burks and Robert Woods, what's on that team? It's Nick Westbrook-Akina, it's Chester Rogers, it's all these guys that really don't have any capital invested in them overall, and it's guys that he's better than in terms of the college stats.
All right, and all those guys that you just mentioned were forced into an opportunity this past season, and unfortunately, none of them really were able to capitalize on that. I think it is wide open in this receiving room. Yes, Bobby Trees is there, the veteran presence, coming off of a rather significant injury at that age. I think we all know the best days of Bobby Trees are behind him, and I think what he can bring from a leadership standpoint to that locker room and that wide receiver room especially is really what the Titans have him there for more than anything at this point.
I like it, man. Oh, go ahead, Coach.
I was just gonna say, you said it a few times, and it was
Nate.
the word opportunity, man. And there's absolutely a ton of opportunity there. I personally don't have any Kyle Phillips shares yet, but to be honest, I'm learning stuff right now, and I probably will going forward.
I like it. All right, next up, Coach.
Oh, we're back to me already.
It's actually
okay, Nate.
It's Nate. Why do I
Nate,
keep doing that? I
Nate.
keep looking at this thing wrong. Nate, you're up.
Nate Buffalo or Bill Belichick.
So again, opportunity. The guy I'm going to talk about is Taekwon Thornton. He was drafted by the Patriots at number 50 overall. They moved up to get him. He was largely projected as like a day 3 guy, I think, if I remember correctly. But the Patriots moved up and grabbed him, kind of similar to what my Lions did. They needed to add some speed to this offense. The biggest issue with N'Keal Harry was he didn't have speed. He was physical and, had good hands, but just lacked speed. So the Patriots have definitely added some speed to this offense. He ran one of the fastest 40 times ever at a 4.28. It's faster than Tyreek Hill. It's faster than McCole Hardman, if I remember correctly. So there's a lot of speed there. He's a former track star. He's got the ability to adjust to off-target throws in the air, and he's got a lot of burst. I just watched a ton of film on him again today. I love this kid a lot. I would say for Dynasty, I don't really know what his exact ADP is, but I've been seeing him fall like quite a bit in my draft. So I've been grabbing a lot of him. And, Mac Jones didn't really a number 1 wide receiver didn't emerge with Mac Jones last year. So the opportunity again is there for Taekwon Thornton to step up in this Patriots offense, and stretch the field and get some big plays. And, I love him for Dynasty. He's one of my favorite picks.
I like I said, man, he's an interesting pick by Belichick. I was kind of surprised that they moved so far up to go grab him.
I was too.
It was kind of like one like those shit. Here we go, Bill. So I have my hesitations on him. Jacoby Myers, don't put the slander out there, brother. The dude made some plays last year. I like Jacoby a lot. But, like I said, I'm interested. He's basically, from what I've been seeing with Thornton, where I've been getting him and where I've been seeing him going most recent, is right around that 3.5, 3.6, 3.7 range, which is pretty dang good value for a second-round rookie pick. So, he's worth the stab at that point. And yeah, like I said, Max got the arm, so hopefully they'll put it all together.
Mm-hmm. And I'll say too, like a lot of people are discounting him as just like this fast guy, but we also have to remember he's 6'2". He's probably going to add a little bit of weight, maybe lose a little bit of speed there, but this is a guy, obviously they want this role on their team. They brought in Nelson Aguilar for a reason last year. He didn't quite cut it. They used Kendrick Bourne a lot over the top last year, and now you're adding somebody that actually has legit speed. And it's not like he didn't do anything at Baylor. He had over 1,000 yards receiving last season with subpar quarterback play. So he is a guy that could produce. It might not just be it might not be year 1 though. So just if you're picking this guy, be patient. But if you're grabbing him in the 3rd round, there's potential value here. Like you mentioned, he's kind of going mid to late for 3rd round at this point in time. He's my 301 personally in my rankings.
Yeah, does it scare you at all thinking about the fact that Baylor wide receivers do not produce at the NFL level? Anybody?
Yes. So there's twofold to that. You got the Baylor. So you got 2 things working against him: Baylor wide receivers and wide receivers Bill Belichick has drafted. So since he's been there, the only wide receiver that's really panned out has been Julian Edelman. You could argue a couple other guys. I know somebody was arguing for Matthew Slater, but he's just a career special teamer. So he has one career
special teamer.
But those guys are important. He's got like 7 or 8 Pro Bowls too. But it's just not a good combination. Baylor wide receivers, really outside of Josh Gordon, we haven't seen anybody produce. We've seen 1 year of Terrence Williams where he had over 1,100 yards, I believe it was, and then 1 year of Kendall Wright. And that's been it at the NFL level, but it's just their route trees usually aren't as expansive as most prospects coming out.
Nailed it.
Got it. All right, Rusty, you're up. No, it's Coach. Jeez, why do I keep looking at this?
Yeah.
It's a list.
You just like saying my name.
I got another wide receiver. We got a lot of wide receivers on the show so far. This is going to be an interesting one just because I know one of the other sleeper picks coming up. Yeah. So this is a deep one. It's a guy that probably most people aren't familiar with. It's Samori, Tori, wide receiver. He's on the Packers now. He whizzed at Nebraska last year. So we got to go way, way, way back in time. This guy was a 2-star prospect, went to the great state of Montana to play college at the FCS level. Redshirt's his first year. He has, and then 2017, going all the way back to 2017, since he is an older prospect, he's already 24 years old. He just turned 24. He's not Velus Jones, who's turning 25. He's got a whole year younger than him. We're not going too far off on that. So he had 31 receptions, 553 yards, 5 touchdowns as a redshirt freshman. 2018, there was 37 receptions, 440 yards, 2 touchdowns. So the first 2 years, not too much there. Get to 2019, 87 receptions, almost 1,500 yards, which led the big Skyy at that point in time. 13 touchdowns. He had 1 carry for 12 yards too. He had a playoff game. Granted, the FCS is not this great of a conference and everything, but this is the playoffs. So this is the best of the best. The North Dakota States, the South Dakota States, University of Northern Iowa, all the good teams. He had 303 receiving yards in a game. I don't care what level you're playing at, what competition you're playing at. That's insane numbers, first of all. Doesn't play in 2020 because their season got postponed to the spring because of COVID. He ends up transferring to Nebraska. 46 receptions, almost 900 yards receiving, 5 touchdowns. He had 8 carries for 63 yards and 1 touchdown, too. I'll say Nebraska was a freaking mess this year. Scott Frost obviously got fired for good reasons because he had no idea what the heck he was doing. Adrian Martinez somehow figured out a way to be at Nebraska for 6 years and get worse. I don't know how. And he still put up decent numbers. And when he first got there, they had a lot of guys that transferred into that wide receiver room. So they were trying to figure out who was going to play, how they were going to use each of these guys. So the first couple weeks of the season was a mess just because they didn't know how to use any of their wide receivers because all of them just came there. Stands at 6'1" and 191 pounds right now. So it's an open wide receiver room. We all know that. Christian Watson was obviously the second round pick. They took Romeo Doubs in the 4th round, who I am personally not a big fan of. I think Samori Tori could be a better receiver than him, might even be a better receiver than him right now. He is, in my opinion, a poor man's version of Brandon Ayuk, who plays in a similar scheme, who's seen success in this scheme before. Didn't go to the Senior Bowl. He went to the Shrine Bowl. Dominated the Shrine Bowl. He had 2 touchdowns in that game. Yeah, and then I'll say the 2 toughest opponents he had this year, Ohio State and Wisconsin. What did he do against these 2 teams? 4 receptions, 150 yards, 1 touchdown versus Ohio State, and he was 1 yard short of having the 2nd touchdown against them. And he burned, he caught the ball and he just ran by their whole defense. We've seen Treylon Burks do it against some of the SEC guys at Alabama. He did the same thing versus Ohio State, but nobody's talking about that. And then the other game, Wisconsin, top defense, according to stats last year in the country for college football. 7 catches, 113 yards, and a touchdown. Like I said, he's already 24, but this is a guy, don't be surprised if he comes in and he does something right away. Maybe Christian Watson is kind of raw like we expect, but this is a guy that could fit this scheme very well. And if he gains the trust of Aaron Rodgers, that's all it takes to be fantasy relevant. And this is a guy that's going maybe the back end of the 4th round, maybe the 5th round if you have it, or you're just picking him up as a priority free agent. He's literally free. You grab him, stash him for a year, see if he does anything. If he doesn't, then you just cut him. You move on. There's no investment.
Yeah, you can pick him up anywhere. He's I've seen him out there, so I picked him up.
He's on waivers. Yeah, he's on waivers. That's for sure.
Yeah, he ran I'll say 2, or let me go back real quick so he ran a 4.48 40, but he had one of the best 3 cones of any guy. He could potentially play in the slot. And he could potentially play on the outside too. So there's a lot of versatility and a good scheme fit there as well.
Well, I think like you said with Aaron Rodgers, whoever gains his trust, and doesn't end up in the doghouse can be huge for any of those guys. So, yeah.
And the other 2 guys have some drop concerns. So if they start dropping the ball, then maybe he sneaks in there one week and just has a nice week. And then next thing you know, everybody's like who the heck's this guy?
Plus, he's got a fun name. Samori Tori. I could say that all day long.
Yeah, sick.
I'm sold.
Yeah, I think he's actually faster than that 40 time he ran, too, just based on what I've seen watching him between Montana and Nebraska. So.
I was literally almost going to say that he almost looks faster than that to me, too.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Rusty. Let's do it.
All right. I got the Kiante Ingram. So he played at Texas for a couple years, and then Robinson came in, pushed him out, and he ended up at USC for a year, finished things off. drafted by Arizona, 6th round guy. Arizona, Chase Edmonds, not there anymore. And actually, Beezy, I was kind of wondering what your thoughts on this were too, because I know that I had a lot of Eno Benjamin shares, and I know that you were a fan of his too. And I'm not going to play the game again like I did last year. You know, I've never been really high on James Conner. Honestly, I don't want to throw the injury prone thing out there. But I do think that Ingram could slot in there, possibly. And I was kind of curious what your thoughts on with that, with Eno, if that's going to be a battle, or if Ingram just comes in, takes that out right away, potentially. I mean, I've seen that he could be a pretty good passing work, down guy. He's got some hands, and he can make some plays. Waldman did a video on him and really likes him. He's a playmaker, and I think with Connor, he proved me wrong last year. Obviously, stayed healthy and put up. He was a touchdown machine. So I'm not saying that Ingram's going to come in and take anything away from him, but the potential is there, and it does kind of make things interesting. So,
no, I mean, I like I said, I was never a humongous fan of Eno Benjamin. I was a fan of his opportunity, and when he did get the little opportunity he did have last year, he actually looked pretty decent.
right.
He looked like he could at least play. And so when it comes into this year, when you see Chase Edmonds leave, you have James Conner all in the backfield by himself, and you see Eno there, you're like, okay, they could like what they see with this kid. Maybe they're going to give him a shot. Now Ingram's a good player. I mean, he's going to definitely come in. They're both going to compete for that RB2 role. Eno might get the benefit of the doubt of just being the vet now and just having the experience in the offense. So, if Keaontay could come in and he can pick up, pass protection and be solid on all three levels, and he could definitely get some work spelling James Conner. But you better believe this year is James Conner day, man. He's gonna go have another year. I'm telling you, if he can stay healthy, he is a absolute value.
I do not want to double down on that again because I was so very wrong on that.
Yeah, hey, listen, man, Connor, it's a hell of a story. The kid's he's defied so many different odds. He probably shouldn't even been playing in the NFL, to be honest with you, with what he went through. So what he did was crazy, but he does have the injury. He does have that injury history, and that could come rear its ugly head at any point in time. We're going to cross our fingers it doesn't, but at this point, you're kind of. You feel like you're a little bit on borrowed time with that guy. So I don't know. That's just my opinion with Connor. But
I'll say one other thing too, real quick, is they did add a receiving back as an undrafted free agent, Ronnie Rivers from Fresno State, who has a pretty good receiving production profile, but he's just not a very good athlete. So that's why he didn't end up getting drafted. So he's a guy that ran like high 4.5s, low 4.6s. But he has the ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. So we'll see if he works his way into this group in this conversation. I think if you're talking about Ingram, though, it's just kind of that situation. If James Conner happens to go down and he starts for a couple weeks and you can sell high on him, that's the opportunity in Dynasty.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
All right. I'm going to finish it up real quick. Yeah, I'm just going to have some fun with Coach here for a second. We're going to play with the Packers wide receivers. I'm going to go with Romeo Doubs. This whole Packers team, this is what I kind of feel. This whole Packers team is just kind of like one big shit show at the wide receiver position. A lot of people like Christian Watson. I think he's very raw. And these other receivers coming in, they got some athleticism. They've got some deep speed, deep speed. Doubs is a guy that came in. I mean, he's had a pretty decent college career in terms of where he was playing. When a guy takes his first touch of his college career ever, coming out of high school as a quarterback, and he gets his first touch in college, and he takes it for an 80-yard touchdown, that's pretty damn good. But that's also just that's just a little fun thing just to kind of say. But no, he's steadily increased over his years. He's gotten better each year. Like I said, he does have there are some things that I don't like about him, but in my opinion, the Packers are going to have to dig deep here if they're going to want to be a playoff team again. And one of these guys on that bench is going to end up stepping up and taking over a role. And which one was it going to be? We don't know. Aaron Rodgers is going to tell us in camp and in the preseason when he starts hyper targeting a rookie. Then whoever he hyper targets, we're all going to be flying to see how many shares we got. So it should be fun. I'm looking forward to watching that offense and seeing what they can do. But I'll throw my money on Doubs for this one.
Yeah, I'll just say too. Part of what I don't like about Doubs is people are taking him like in the 3rd round. Like if you want to take him like at the back half of the 4th round, you add him as like a priority free agent or something like that. I don't have a problem with taking that stab. I just personally don't think it's a stab that's going to work out. If you're an analytics person, you probably love Romeo Doubs just because he had the back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. He played with a very good quarterback in Carson Strong, who didn't get drafted because of other reasons, mainly medical and some off-the-field character concerns when he was interviewing and at the Senior Bowl.
Yep.
And set through was one of the prettiest deep balls in the entire class. Romeo Doubs' kind of calling card in college was that deep ball, like you kind of alluded to with that first career catch being an 80-yard touchdown. But I do have some concerns there too. Like, yes, he was winning versus Mountain West corners. They're probably running 4.7. He unofficially had he didn't even really have a real pro day because he had like a phantom knee injury that there's a lot of question marks around still. Like, did he really have? Was it really that bad? Like, because he didn't run at the combine, he didn't run at his pro day, which was quite a bit after that. And then he had an individual workout where everything was hand time. So it was anywhere between 4.48 and 4.54. And there's just a lot of question marks there. A lot of what I saw on tape, he's a guy that's 6'2", 200 pounds. He does not play like it. He plays a lot smaller than his size. And not in a good way. Not like that he's small, he's quick and elusive and all that stuff. He's essentially a 0 after the catch. He had some drops that were concerned, like where Carson Strong like hit him in the chest and it literally just bounced off his hands. So some of that can be fixed at the NFL level. You get in front of the jugs machine and it'll get better. He's a very, very limited route tree. Go routes, couple slant routes, and like a little bit of a curl or hitch route. Like literally can't run anything else to save his life. And I just think he's a guy that's going to struggle right away. I think he's a guy that could potentially get in Aaron Rodgers' doghouse early on too. If he just doesn't run the right route at practice, if he starts dropping balls, I feel like he's a guy that could very, very easily get buried and like we never see from him again. So
absolutely,
it could happen to any of them though.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's it. I totally hear that. It's that's the game we play with those Packers wide receivers, man. Who gets Aaron Rodgers' heart? It's probably going to be Aaron Jones leading that team in receiving this year. So that's the guy you want in fantasy in 2022. But, we've kind of come to the end here of our review. We can always, yes, we definitely did miss some rookies. I did not get into Olave just because you should already know, we don't have to get into that. But it was a fun time. We're going to any other things we want to discuss here before we end it?
Yeah, just a big shout out to anybody who was able to join us tonight via YouTube. Make sure you are subscribed to our Sons of Dynasty YouTube channel, where you'll find shows like this and many others, including SODFS, coming out for all of you DFS junkies out there for week 1 and potentially even before. We'll probably do another episode pre-week 1 just to kind of get some feelers out but lots of content coming down the line here with Sons of Dynasty. So make sure you are subbed to the YouTube page and stick with us as we continue this journey throughout the off season. Nate, tell our friends there about a little bit more about Fantasy Points Media Group and that big get.
Yeah, so once again, we have partnered up with Fantasy Points for 2022. That is Sons of Dynasty and Sons of DFS. Again, we're very excited about this opportunity to build both brands, build our brand, build their brand, interact with you guys. It's going to be a lot of fun. As Dan said, SODFS Season 2 is coming. We still have more Dynasty content coming your way. And just to echo also what Dan said, if you want to show us any kind of love, just sub to our YouTube page. It's well worth it. You're going to get great content over there. And the subs and the likes, and the comments and the videos mean the world to us. So it's huge if you can do that. I also want to say thank you to Brother Matt again for his behind the scenes work. He's been working hard all week on these overlays, the music, redoing our intro. He's busy every day doing stuff for us, and he doesn't always, he doesn't get the on-screen recognition that he deserves. So again, Brother Matt, thank you so much.
Absolutely, man. And well, that about does it for the show, fam. We appreciate you guys being here. And from all of us, we're always here on the Twitter machine to help you guys out. Watch the videos, subscribe, hit us up on Twitter. Let's have a good off season. Peace.
He's a bad motherfucker.